We're gonna need to get big fast. You move and work.
Our work. Rock can be done. She dead to me already.
Need you to leave me and my peoples alone, Garcia.
What the fuck are you doing here?
Your mother is working in Manhattan now. Things could get messy.
Got a spot for you if you're lucky.
You will never be above me.
It's us now. Everybody else need to get the fuck out the way.
Kanan just told everyone else to get out of the way, but the real question is who's about to get got. Because in this episode, the line between business and betrayal disappears completely, and somebody is not walking away from it. Season 5 of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, has officially entered its most dangerous chapter yet, and Episode 3 is where the cracks that have been forming since the premiere finally start to split wide open. After 2 episodes that rebuilt the entire power structure of Southside Queens, this is the moment where every alliance gets tested and every lie gets one step closer to falling apart. The episode is called Tricks, and once you understand what that title actually means in context, you start to realize just how calculated, deceptive, and dangerous this next chapter of the story is about to be. A trick, by definition, is an act meant to deceive, manipulate, or cleverly outmaneuver someone else, and that is exactly the game every major character in this universe is now playing. Nobody in this episode is being straightforward. Everybody has an angle, a hidden motive, or a plan they are not sharing with the people standing right next to them. The official synopsis confirms that Rack and Marvin are launching their own new operation, while Kanan and Breeze continue strengthening their business on the other side of the divide. Meanwhile, Jukebox is set to take a major risk, one tied directly to protecting her family, and based on everything building up over the last 2 episodes, that risk could change the entire emotional core of the season. What makes this so tense is the fact that these storylines are no longer running in isolation. Rack's move into Manhattan, Kanan and Breeze's expansion in Queens, Marvin's obsession with finding Unique, and Jukebox's growing suspicion are all converging at the exact same time, and Episode 3 feels like the moment several of these threads are about to collide. Let's start with Rack, because her storyline has taken one of the most unexpected turns of the entire season. After being forced out of Southside, she did not retreat. She regrouped. Rack is now setting up an entirely new operation in Manhattan, working through Flossie, a connected and resourceful figure with deep ties to the city's underground economy, including escort services and nightlife operations that give Rack a discreet and sophisticated way to move product without drawing unwanted attention. This is not the same Southside hustle Rack built her empire on. Manhattan plays by different rules, with sharper players and far higher stakes, and Rack knows that surviving here means being smarter, not louder. That is where Pino Bernardi comes into the picture, a major new force this season played by Joe Pantoliano, who runs the Manhattan side of the Italian crime family network. Bernardi has already made it clear to Rack that the clientele, the expectations, and the consequences in his territory are nothing like what she is used to. If she steps out of line, there will be no mercy and no warning. That puts Rack directly in business with one mafia power player, while back in Queens, Stefano, the godfather overseeing Kanan's operation, is dealing with the exact same family network from a completely different angle. Stefano is already uneasy about Rack's move into Manhattan, and there is real tension building between him and Bernardi, 2 powerful men operating on opposite sides of the same crime family structure, both fully aware that a clash between them is not a matter of if, but when. And caught directly in the middle of that coming storm is Kanan, who works underneath Stefano, while Rack now works underneath Bernardi. That means whatever war eventually breaks out between these 2 mafia leaders will not stay contained. It will pull Kanan and Rack into direct opposition, not just as mother and son who have already broken apart, but as 2 people now tied to rival factions of the same dangerous organization. Meanwhile, back in Queens, Kanan and Breeze are not waiting around. With Unique seemingly gone, vanished after the chaos of the previous episode, the door has fully opened for Kanan and Breeze to expand aggressively. Breeze has made his intentions painfully clear. It is their turn now, and anyone who gets in the way needs to move or be moved. That kind of confidence is exactly what built Rack's empire years ago, and it is unsettling to watch Kanan adopt the same mentality his mother once had, almost without realizing it. But unique disappearing does not necessarily mean unique is finished. This show has used that exact trick before, building up a character's apparent death or disappearance, only to bring them back when the audience least expects it. And with Marvin refusing to stop searching for him, there is a real possibility that Unique's story is far from over, especially with an episode literally named Trick staring us to question what we are seeing. Speaking of Marvin, his relationship with Kanan is reaching a boiling point. Marvin is actively hunting for Unique, and Kanan, now operating with a level of independence and confidence he has never had before, is starting to act like he answers to no one. That attitude is about to get checked hard. Marvin is not someone who tolerates being challenged, especially not by someone he still sees as beneath him in the hierarchy he has spent his entire life building. There is a moment coming where Marvin reminds Kanan exactly where he stands, making it brutally clear that no matter how many corners Kanan controls or how close he gets to Breeze, he is nowhere near Marvin's level, and he never will be. For a character who has spent the entire series trying to escape being underestimated, that kind of reality check could push Kanan toward a decision that changes everything. And then there's Tar, a problem Kanan has been ignoring for far too long. Ever since Rack brought in Werrell and gave him a position that Tar felt should have been his, the resentment has been building episode after episode, and it has reached a point where it cannot be brushed aside anymore. Tar has made it obvious through his actions that he feels disrespected, overlooked, and owed something, and Breeze has already warned him directly that Kanan is about to become the very least of his problems. That warning was not just a throwaway line. It was a setup. There are signs pointing toward a serious falling out between Tar and the business relationships Breeze has worked to build, including connections that have been quietly profitable for the entire operation. If Tar's recklessness ends up costing them those relationships, there will be no version of this story where he walks away unpunished. Every choice he has made over the past 2 episodes feels like it is building toward one final, irreversible moment, and once that moment hits, it is hard to imagine Kanan showing him any mercy. The tension between Kanan and Marvin is only going to get heavier from here. Marvin is the kind of man who has spent his entire life earning respect the hard way, through loyalty, violence, and an unshakable presence in Southside, and he is not about to let a younger player believe he has somehow outgrown that hierarchy. There is a conversation between the two of them that lays everything out in the open, and it is the kind of moment that defines where their relationship goes from here. Marvin makes it painfully clear that Kanan working a few corners and aligning himself with Breeze does not put him anywhere near Marvin's level, and the way he says it is meant to wound, not just inform. For Kanan, a person who has spent this entire season trying to prove that no one is above him, hearing that kind of dismissal from someone he still has to answer to is not something he is going to let go easily. That kind of friction does not just disappear. It festers and, eventually, it forces a decision. Underneath all of that, there is a much deeper, more emotional storyline quietly building inside Jukebox. She believes Kanan and Rack are completely finished, that their relationship is beyond repair, but the bigger issue is what Jukebox does not yet know. She has no idea that Kanan is the one responsible for what happened to Lou, and that secret is sitting in the middle of their relationship like a bomb waiting to go off. After everything Jukebox went through avenging Fame's death last season, it becomes impossible to ignore the silence around Lou's death now. Why isn't Kanan reacting the same way? Why isn't there outrage, or grief, or a need for revenge? That inconsistency is exactly the kind of detail a sharp, observant person eventually catches, and Jukebox is far from naive. There is a real possibility that this is the episode where she starts connecting pieces she was never supposed to see, and once she starts asking the right questions, there will be no walking that back. Then there's Jukebox's confrontation with Detective Garcia, a moment that feels like a long overdue shift in power. For weeks, Garcia has used his position to pressure and manipulate the people around him, but Jukebox is done playing the victim in that dynamic. She is expected to draw a hard line, warning him that he needs to leave her and the people she cares about alone, and that warning comes with real weight behind it. Jukebox has always operated with a sense of boundaries that separates her from the more ruthless members of her family, but those boundaries are clearly being tested, and Garcia may be underestimating just how far she is willing to go if he refuses to back off. This could easily evolve into one of those classic favor for a favor arrangements that defined so much of how Lou taught her to survive, and if that's the direction this takes, Garcia may quickly realize he picked the wrong person to underestimate. And finally, there's Rack, standing outside the old shopping plaza she purchased back in Season 3, a location the show has not revisited in a long time. The property looks abandoned and run down, raising the obvious question of why she is choosing to return to it now, especially while she's deep in the middle of building an entirely new operation in Manhattan. Rack has never made a move without purpose, and whatever she's planning here could end up being one of the most important decisions of the entire season, even if it doesn't look like much on the surface right now. Everything about this episode suggests that the calm is officially over. The alliances forming in Queens and Manhattan are about to collide. The secrets buried beneath Kanan's relationships are getting harder to hide, and the people he has underestimated, Marvin, Tar, and Jukebox, are all approaching their breaking points at the exact same time. This is the kind of episode that doesn't just move the story forward, it reshapes who these characters are about to become, and once that shift happens, there is no version of raising Kanan that goes back to the way it was. If this breakdown helped you see episode 3 in a completely new light, that is exactly what this channel is here for, so do not scroll past without hitting that like button, because it genuinely helps this content reach more fans who love this show as much as we do. If you are not subscribed yet, now is the time, because every single episode this season is going to bring something just as intense, and you do not want to miss a single breakdown. Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below. Tell me who you think is walking into a trap, who you think is about to fall, and what you believe Rack is really planning at that old shopping plaza. This story is heating up fast, and I will see you in the next breakdown.